What up, nerds? My name is Leslie Smith. Welcome back to The Nerdy Narrative, a channel where I talk about all of the things that I read. Today is no different. I'm going to be talking about all of the things that I've been reading over the last week, so let's dig right in, starting with the books that I finished. First up on the list is Stephen Graham Jones' Don't Fear the Reaper. And if you noticed, I'm sporting my shirt. Jade Daniels is my final girl. This was made by Greg Green. I will put a link to his Etsy shop down in the description box below so you can get your own shirt announcing to the world who your favorite final girl is. As you can imagine, Don't Fear the Reaper, sequel to My Heart is a Chainsaw, has our favorite final girl, Jade Daniels, returning to Proof Rock. If you have not read My Heart is a Chainsaw, you absolutely cannot read Don't Fear the Reaper. They are connected. It is one of those types of series. Because Don't Fear the Reaper is a sequel, there's not a whole lot that I can say about it that would not spoil My Heart is a Chainsaw. For those of you who have not started the Lake Witch trilogy yet, which if you haven't, highly encourage it. This is, without a doubt, one of my favorite slasher stories. What I can tell you, it is a solid sequel to the series. And even though it is a slasher, and I've always said slashers are formulaic, Stephen Graham Jones managed to slip in a lot of surprises. I had so much fun with this one. There was a time in the story where I actually jumped up out of my chair, scared the stuffing out of Milo and Bandit because I was hollering like a damn fool. It was so good. There's no other way to describe that moment other than it was iconic. Loved it. Highly recommend it. I did finally finish Zora Neale Hurston's Tell My Horse. It is a nonfiction account of when she went to Jamaica and Haiti, and it really dives deep on voodoo. She gets into it. This is the most in-depth nonfiction account studying and explaining voodoo that I've ever read. Zora Neale Hurston did not just go here and ask a few questions of a few people. She lived here for months, maybe even a year. While she did ask questions, she participated, and she gives us all of that information here. While she is reporting a lot about culture and facts, she infuses it with humor of things that happened to her while she was there. It was just as much an enjoyable read as her fictional works. I'm looking forward to the collaboration that's going to be happening between me and 3 other booktubers where we discuss this book together. As soon as I have that information of when that is going to happen, I will definitely be sharing with you all so you can jump in and hear more about Tell My Horse. Another book I completed this week was Love Will Tear Us Apart. This is an audiobook that I listened to. It's narrated by the fantastic Brendan McDonald. Nobody else could do this series. Something happened to Brendan McDonald before the series was complete. I would just say don't even try to produce another audiobook. No one can do all of the voices for all of the characters in this world like he does. But Love Will Tear Us Apart is the 3rd book in the Stranger Times series by C.K. McDonald. The day that I started the book, I posted a little picture on Twitter talking about it, how happy I was to have another book in the series, but also how sad I was because it was the last book in the trilogy. The publisher very quickly responded to let me know this was not going to be the last that we see of the Stranger Times, and reminded me that C.K. McDonald cannot count, meaning he has no idea what a trilogy is because the Dublin trilogy was supposed to be 3 books and it is now 7. I'm not complaining. I love both of these series and I am excited that there's going to be more. The Stranger Times is a paranormal thriller series. Love Will Tear Us Apart is the latest installment in that series. Probably my 2nd favorite of the 3 books that are out currently. While it is full of laughs, there's also some very bittersweet, heartwarming moments as well. It is the 3rd book in the trilogy. Again, there's not a whole lot I can say that would not ruin something from the first 2 books. I would highly recommend this series if you need a good laugh, if you're in a reading slump, or if you just need something to break up some heavier, complex reads. It's perfect, especially the audiobooks. And then let's talk about how I'm doing for Dresden. I am reading the entire series in chronological order. That's all of the short stories, the graphic novels. I read Full Moon last week, which is the 2nd novel in the series. After that came B is for Bigfoot. I had never read this particular short story, but the story is referenced by a couple of characters later on in the books, so it was really fun to get that origin story. And then I followed that up with the graphic novel Ghoul Goblin. Of everything that I've read so far, this is probably my least favorite. It was okay. I like the little attention to detail for tying it in. It just kind of felt like an extra, which is perfectly fine. I still enjoyed the physical representation of all of the characters and the artwork of the artist for the novel. Let's see, oh, I finished one more. I finished it last night, The Way of Unity by Sarah K. Balstrup. I am going to be participating in the Escapist book tour for this book. The book tour is the last few days of February, the first few days of March. My review will be coming out on March the 2nd. Keep your eyes peeled for it. This was amazing. It was so good. Spoiler alert, my written review is done. It's just not going to be posted until March 2nd. While I try to keep my reviews brief, they never are. They're several paragraphs long, and I wrote several paragraphs for this one, and I still couldn't cover all of the things that I liked about it. The best that I can do to summarize is I love the author's writing style. Their prose is just beautiful, absolutely beautiful, so vivid. This is one of the authors that I like that can say so much with so few words. They're very clever in their word choice, so they can say something in a paragraph, but my goodness, you can just picture it so clearly. It was just outstanding. There were so many times I would reread a paragraph, or I'd reread a scene or a memory that a character was reliving. A subject matter that has always fascinated me, whether talking about it with people or reading about it, is religion. I love reading about all types of religion, whether they're real or whether they're fictional fantasy. I absolutely love it. I've just always been fascinated with people. What makes them believe the way that they do? Where do they get their faith from? How does their faith stand up when they're tested by war, rebellion, change? I love that sort of thing. And that is the central theme of this book. We have the 7 lands of Velspar. They're ruled by a family called the Scalans, or maybe the Skylans. I'm not sure how that word is pronounced. And then they're all kind of held in check by these holy ones called intercessors. They're psychic priests. And it seems in this world that everybody can read one another's thoughts unless they wear these contraptions called a meridian, which goes around their head and has 3 stones that are placed in certain areas, 3 certain types of stones that when in place will shield your mind from psychic intrusion. Well, a couple of these Scalan families have decided that the intercessors are evil. They want to wipe them out, and it just goes from there. It is so good. It absolutely could have been a standalone. It was meant to be a standalone. The author has decided to write another book, and I'm so glad, because this kind of story, this kind of writing is addicting, and I cannot wait to get my hands on that. But more on this later on March the 2nd. And then looking at my pile here, I think all that I have left is stuff that I am currently reading and a couple of things of what I'm going to read next. What am I currently reading? I am still working my way through the American Cannibal Anthology, and I don't know, this is going to be hard for me to eat meat out in public or at somebody else's house in the future. These authors are really messing me up. These stories are so good, but they're going to turn your stomach. You can't stop reading. But if you want to see some of my little mini reviews about some of these stories, they are on my Instagram. I'll put a little brief synopsis of what it's about, maybe the time period, and then a quote from the story so you can get an idea of the author's writing style. Other than American Cannibal, I am still working my way through Robert Jordan's The Great Hunt. This is the 2nd book in the Wheel of Time series. It is a reread for me. I am not sure how many times I've read The Great Hunt. I think it's been around 5 to 7 years since the last time I read this one. I remember most of it, but there are some tidbits that I had forgotten that I've been enjoying remembering and encountering again. The main crux of the story, I remember that. The joy that I am taking is meeting more of my favorite characters as they are popping up and making their appearance. That's just the joy of rereading. When you meet a favorite character at their origin point of the story, where they first make their appearance, and just that feeling in your heart when you see their name on the page, it's unmatched. And then, after I finished The Way of Unity last night, I went ahead and started Richard Osman's The Thursday Murder Club. It's already off to a great start. This one I think is going to be really humorous, not as much as the Stranger Times or the Dublin trilogy. From what I've read so far, we have these 4 senior citizens from a retirement home that meet every Thursday to talk about murder cases. I feel like I'm going to enjoy this one so much so that I'm probably going to go ahead and keep going with the series after I finish SPSFC. Nothing else is getting added until SPSFC is over. So that takes care of all of the books that I finished over the last week and the ones that I'm still working on. Once I finish those, what I will be starting next will be Jen Lyons, The Bitter Twins, which is the second book in the Winnowing Flame trilogy. I was supposed to read this in January. It was my patron pick of the month, and I just failed. And I will also be starting Horsemen of the Apocalypse. That is the third book in Joseph Sells' new dark fantasy series, Book of Thrice Dead. I will put in the cards the review for the first book of the series, which is Prince of the Wasteland, Gods of the Black Gate, Book 2. That review is going to go up next week, so be sure to check that out. I am so excited to see what's going to happen in this one. I think I have an idea of where it's going to go, but I'm not sure. You never can tell with Joseph Sells. That's the best thing about him. His brain is just... He can go places. With all of the things that I've read by him, nothing has been even remotely similar. It's insane what he can come up with. So I am excited to continue my journey here. That is going to be a wrap on this week of reading for me. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider hitting that like button. If you are not already subscribed and you don't want to miss another one, make sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one.